We press that, and then we're off to the races.
Got it figured out.
Episode number 3 of the Grounded Theory podcast. We got my guy, Sam Briscoe, CBC's newest head coach. Sam, thanks for being here.
I appreciate you having me, man.
So for those listening that may not know who you are, just learning, give us your background, give us your story, tell us who you are.
Like you said, I'm the head coach at CBC this year. I grew up in St. Charles, Missouri, went to Duchesne High School, played 4 years basketball there, played 2 years at Rockhurst University in Kansas City, had a couple knee surgeries, transferred to Mizzou, started coaching with Gateway Basketball Club, which is who I played for growing up. Worked at DeSmet for a year under Kent Williams while I was still finishing my degree, and had the opportunity to go to Drury University as a GA for Steve Hesser. Did that for 2 years. Stayed on staff there as a full-time assistant with Chris Foster, and then last summer had the opportunity to interview as the head coach for Kirkwood High School. Was fortunate enough that they took a chance on me. Was there 1 year and had an opportunity this summer to take a job at CBC, and it's kind of one of those. It felt like the right time for me and my career and what I'm trying to do. So I'm fortunate enough that they took another chance on me.
The resume is well built.
Appreciate that.
Well built, for sure. We're going to start at the beginning. We're going to work our way up to the present day.
Yeah.
So Duchesne High School, 4 years varsity. 4 years varsity. Talk about your experience there, because then you went off to Rockhurst, Division II basketball. Talk about your experience at Duchesne, and then speak about the commitment that it took to be able to put yourself in the position to go to Rockhurst. Yeah,
I mean, I was fortunate enough the group we had at Duchesne were guys that I grew up with. The core group of players that we had there, I played with since I was first grade, kindergarten. So it was a fun group to be around every day. We're great, great on the court, great off the court, really close. So we really competed. I played for a head coach, Wade Balsock, who's still the head coach there, and he really, I loved the game, but he showed me the preparation it takes, with all the scouting reports that we had, the film sessions, work, all the stuff that it took to be a really good basketball player and really good at something. A lot of it came from him. You fell in love with the work. And I think that's when I kind of started to think, I want to coach, because I loved all that stuff. Some guys didn't love the 35-minute film session in high school, but I loved it. And he showed me how to work hard and do the things that it takes to play at a high level. It's hard to see because it's on video, but I'm short. I'm 5'8.5". So it really took. I had to grind. I had to work hard and live in the gym a little bit at times. Looking back, probably could have even worked a little bit harder to put myself in a good spot, but it all worked out. Played Division II basketball for 2 years. Got to experience some things that only a small portion of high school players get to experience. And it's funny, everything ends up working out. But in the moment, I was just struggling to get schools to look at me, take a chance on me. And all you need is that one. And it took until I had already graduated high school. I had no clue where I was going to go. And, Rockhurst eventually offered me a scholarship, and kind of the rest has made its way to where we are today.
I like the point you brought up about how only a small amount of high school hoopers experience college basketball. And I think, I touched on that on episode 1 with Javier. It's easy to get caught up in social media and the clout and I'm trying to go D1 and all the free gear. and all the mixtapes and all of that. But really, like at Rockhurst, when you're at your 6 a.m. conditioning, hands on your knees, none of the high school clout matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's I try to tell like the guys that I coach, like, you don't understand the work that goes into it until you do it. Like, and I wish some kids got a chance to see it firsthand a little bit. Like, those 5:30 a.m. on a Friday morning, like you're in the weight room for mandatory workouts. Like I could have been, sleeping just like everybody else, like my roommate, but you had to put in that work, and it's tough. It's a grind, and it's not for everybody. Like most people, they don't want to push themselves, and I was a guy that I felt like I worked hard, but there were teammates that I had that were just, they were crazy about it. Like they had already got a workout in before we got there. They were nuts with it. And those are the ones that are super successful. You hear stories like Kobe and all that stuff, and all the NBA guys that I've been around through my chances with working with Pure Sweat and doing some other stuff, training wise, like that's what separates a lot of the good ones besides the, normal genetic, just they're genetic freaks, but it's the work. Like they love it, and that they can bring it to a whole nother level.
I think that's a super interesting point, especially like this era of basketball where we're very conscious about like managing the workload and not overexerting, and just, workload management, Kawhi Leonard, all that, like that's 100% valid. It's super important for the longevity of your career, because like congrats, you're good for 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think long term. So it's 100% important. At some point, you're going to have to face that mental barrier. Like you said, the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. to go lift. Like there's going to be a point, no matter how you want to look at it, there's going to be that point where you have to push past some discomfort. Oh
yeah. That's where the work is done. You're rarely going to be in a good, like, especially if you're working like you're supposed to be, you're rarely going to feel great. Like that's a rare day. So you have to be comfortable pushing through some discomfort, if that makes sense. Like, and I think that's, like you talked about social media, like you'll just see the end, like you see the end product, you see the highlights, but you don't see what they're going through on a day-to-day basis to get there. I think that's a big thing that gets lost in kind of just really everything, like, but specifically like sports, and, you just kind of chase clout a little bit that, I want this highlight tape. It's like, well, you got to do a lot of things to get some of those plays, and I'm a guy, I hate highlight tapes. I hate them. Like
the cameraman nowadays is very talented.
Oh yeah.
They can clip it up and make everyone look very good.
Yeah. We always joked when I was at Drury, like among the coaching staff, like it's hard to screw up a highlight tape. Like I can make myself look pretty good in a 2-minute video if I clip it up just right, but I couldn't get on the floor, So that's, I'm not a big fan of that.
If like half of your mixtape is layup lines and tying your shoes,
yeah,
maybe a red flag.
We're in trouble. Yeah. That's like you say that, but it's a joke. There's some highlights. It's like that's it's a 57-second clip, and it's like the first 20 seconds are like layup lines.
The first time shooting the ball was at the 30-second mark.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, come on.
So you brought up your height, 5'8.5", not very athletic, objectively speaking.
Yeah.
What made you a successful college basketball player? What skills could you hang your hat on? Was it IQ? Was it on the court type skills? What was it?
Yeah. unfortunately, I wasn't as successful as I would have liked to have been as a college hooper. But I think the big thing for me, I always felt like I really was a student of the game. I loved it. Like I was always watching, whether it was college games, NBA games, and just kind of thinking, not just watching, like thinking through what's going on. What coverage are they in? What are they doing on this specific player? Are they, chasing them on screen? Like, you know what I mean? Like just kind of some of that stuff that kind of the scouting base, as a coach. And then I felt like I always had a pretty good at basketball IQ. I knew where guys were supposed to be. I could help put guys in the right spot. I was a good passer. I was a good passer and ball handler, and I didn't really look to score. Like I didn't even score 1,000 points in high school. Started every game for 4 years on varsity, and I didn't even score 1,000 points. Which is hilarious to think about now. It's like, how did you not score 1,000? But I am the all-time leading hold the record for assists at my high school because I played with some really good players. I knew get them the ball where they're really good. We're gonna be successful. It's not gonna be me jacking up a bunch of shots. If I'm doing that, we're gonna be in some trouble.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about loving watching film, student of the game, and then you earlier talked about your high school coach kind of introducing you to the idea, like kind of inspiring you to think about coaching down the road. Was being a student of the game something like before high school, or did your high school coach like plant that seed and then you started diving deep into it?
I think I always watched games. It was like this one sport that I loved. But I think once we started watching film, like when I was in high school, so we had these binders. And it had your name on it. And it had different tabs. Like one was scouting reports, one was offensive plays, some defensive stuff, just whatever was in there. But we had a section that was notes. And during film, you'd open it to the notes section, and coach would just kind of, hey, write this down. So the whole team would write it down in their notes. But then I would try to take it a step further, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to write my own notes too. So I had I'd split the page in half, and I'd have his notes. I'd have my notes. So I think he really was the one that made me a student of the game and think about the game in a different way. I don't think really in grade school I ever thought about what defense are they in. I knew man or zone, but I didn't. Are they switching on man? Are they what ball screen coverage are they in? How are they guarding screens? How are they forced? Are they forcing middle? Are they forcing baseline? Or what's their philosophy on the closeout? All those different things. I didn't really think about until I was in high school and playing for the coach that I played for. I think he really got me to think about those things, and it made me a significantly better player because I don't think most high school kids think about it like that. Had I been a little bigger, faster, stronger, just more talented, it'd been really nice. But that was the way I, that was the way I could function. That was the way I, could get on the floor and impact the game. So kind of think about those things.
You said taking notes during film. Is this scouting report on the other team, or what are you writing down?
Yeah, so we watched our own stuff a lot. Our coach, he would put together 30 clips, say, of our game from Tuesday. We'd watch it on Wednesday, and he'd be like, all right, write this down. We need to get the ball up the floor faster. And then show us a clip, and it'd be ball goes through the hoop. We just gave up a bucket, and we're not getting it out and out of bounds and out up the floor quick. So then you write that down, and then I would look at that and be like, okay, I was a point guard, so it's all right, I need to get higher and wider on the floor, so that way when it does come to me, I'm right up and I can find the pitch. I'm catching it right, by the block. We're not going to get the ball up fast enough. I got to be, higher and wider, out butt to the sideline. I would just kind of think about some of those things that I needed to kind of change on my own game, or like, hey, ball's sticking too much, like in this situation, maybe I need to set more screens, or just kind of thinking about what you can always do to be better. I think like the cliche is you want to be perfect. Perfection, you're never going to be perfect, but like the pursuit of that, trying to be perfect is what makes you good. If you're always trying to be the best possible version of whatever you are, like you got a chance to be pretty good.
Facts. I think that's important as a player, but even more so as a point guard, being able to think the game like that. So Rockhurst, 2 years there.
Yep.
Knees get busted up.
Oh yeah. I had, between my sophomore and junior year of high school, I tore my lateral meniscus, that spring. It's like right after the season. Didn't have surgery until the summer. We didn't really know if I was going to need surgery. Kept trying to play through it. Just had surgery. Was out for a long time. Then going into my senior year, between my junior and senior year, in an AAU tournament, tore my meniscus again, same knee. And then my freshman year of college, that like spring, summer, just kind of tweaked it, and it wasn't getting better. And then I re-injured it that upcoming fall, like right as workouts started, and had surgery my sophomore year over Christmas break. Kind of realized like you're not good enough to make money doing this. Like, I tried to rehab it back, and it just wasn't the same. I wasn't quick enough. I couldn't jump. My knee would swell up all the time, like back-to-back days. Like you're not going to be good enough. And I kind of had to come to terms with that a little bit, and thought maybe I wanted to coach, but I was just kind of so fed up with basketball, and so I just decided that early that spring, like during basketball, I was like, yeah, after the season, I'm gonna go and coach, and just be like, hey, I'm transferring, like I'm done playing basketball. And I was still around basketball because my summer job was working for Alex Bizzell and doing some training stuff. And then Darian Head called me, and he's like, hey, I was at Mizzou at the time. He's like, hey, I'm going to coach this AAU team this spring and summer. Like, I want you to help out. And I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I'm living in Columbia. I'm kind of done with basketball. Like, I worked with over the summer doing it, but I think I'm just kind of done. He was like, well, I already told Scott that you're helping. So, like,
sounds like something he would do.
Yeah. So then, it's like, all right, and then I started helping him. I was like, this is what I want to be doing. I fell in love with it immediately. So, I credit Darian for really kind of getting me back into it. He's a guy that didn't take no for an answer, and just kind of, I think if he would have taken no for an answer, then I doubt I'm sitting here right now.
Shout out to Darian, for real.
Yeah. It's the guy.
That is the guy. Lots of knowledge on and off the court.
Oh yeah. He's one that I credit him too for like making me a tougher kid. Like he just like got it out of you. I don't know that I was a very tough kid, but he got whatever toughness was in there, out of me. Made me a much better basketball player, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're at Mizzou in Columbia, interning for Alex Bizzell with Pure Sweat. Mm-hmm. So you're doing classes and stuff probably during the day, and then the time you're not doing that, what's your role with Pure Sweat? Are you like training kids, running your own groups? Is Alex working groups out and you're like throwing in your 2 cents?
Yeah, so when I first started with him, I was a freshman in college.
At Rockers?
Yeah, and okay. I was just like, I needed a workout. He was starting to train some kids, and he was like, hey, come work out with me. So I worked out with them, and I always, like, Drew Hanlon was a guy that was like, I always admired. It was like, oh, that'd be awesome to train kids. Like, he's, so knowledgeable of the game. And so I kind of told Alex, I was like, hey, if you ever need somebody to help with workouts, like, just call me. I would love to help you, do whatever. And I think he was working Michael Dixon. He was training Michael Dixon. And Alex texted me like, hey, I need somebody to, like, just rebound for Mike. Can you come do it? I was like, yeah, for sure. So I rebounded for him. And then the summer, I think it was the summer after my freshman year, maybe, his business had kind of grown quite a bit, and he needed people to help him, because now he had, like, 12, 14 kids in a workout. He couldn't do it by himself, So I just helped out. I'd say probably early on I didn't say much. I was just kind of there. Like, if I really saw something that a kid was doing wrong, I'd help correct him. And then Alex really just taught me a bunch of stuff. Just what to look for, and I just kind of followed his lead. And eventually we got so big where, we had probably 250 kids, in the summer. And so then I was running some of my own workouts. He would kind of take a step back, and I would be kind of the lead guy that would run it, and he would, put his 2 cents in. And then my senior year at Mizzou, Drew Hanlon was gracious enough, him and Jason Fry, they gave me my own kind of branch of Pure Sweat. So I was running my own little, I probably had like 20 kids training with me in Columbia, and we just did a bunch of different churches, the MAC in Columbia, we trained there a little bit. I mean, just wherever we could get guys. So I was just running everything by myself. Then Nathan Wright, a kid that helped out with Alex, and he was a student manager at Mizzou at the time. He was kind of helping me run some of that for my bigger groups when I had like 10 kids. He would help out, and shout out Nate. He's the man. I would not have been able to do all that stuff without him in Como. But and then I came back to St. Louis and was finishing school and helping Bizzell with some stuff. I was running a lot of the workouts on my own, because now he was traveling a bunch with like Trey Young, and he was blowing up. So I was doing a lot of the workouts, on my own with Casey Tisson, and who's got his own kind of training deal now. Him and Derek Dieters, who works with Alex still. It's kind of us three running a lot of the workouts kind of on our own. Some long days, but some fun days.
You mentioned like church gyms, the MAC in Columbia. Those were gyms that you trained at?
Yeah. We
go ahead.
Did the Boys and Girls Club for a little bit, like just whatever gym was open.
Was it difficult? Like, you have your 20 guys, you're trying to run a business. Was it hard, or you are running a business? Was it hard to not have that stability, I guess, like gym hopping and trying to run a business?
Yeah, that was always difficult. I guess parents kind of know, like, unless you have your own gym, the location might change, but that was always the big struggle. And like, I think that's one of the reasons why Alex Bizzell, like, he was really, really good at, or he is really, really good at what he does. But, he trained out of the same, 2 gyms majority of the time. So it's kind of, like, you have the stability, where the workouts are. It was difficult though, because you're always just calling around, hey, how much do you charge for a gym per hour? What's your availability? And some places there's like, oh, we only have availability on this nights, but it's like, oh, that's not going to work with my schedule, So it was difficult, but you just kind of, you make it work, and you push
roll
through.
With the punches.
Exactly, yeah. You just push through.
Alex was on Drew's podcast a while back,
mm-hmm.
and they were talking about how Drew would have like a whiteboard with all the Pure Sweat trainers, and then like how much they made. I think it was like per month or something like that. And Alex was talking about his motivation was like, I didn't want it to be close. Like he wanted to be number one. Was that like in that time you were working with him?
Yeah. So I was probably, I don't know, whatever some of that was. Like I was under Alex for a lot of the time that he was working. I mean, he probably had like 2 years on completely on his own, but then his business had grown so much. He just luckily needed some help and was, I guess, dumb enough to let me in on it. And he had a lot of kids. I mean, he had a ton of kids. Probably, like I said, like at one summer, I think he probably had like 250 something kids. I mean, it was big. I mean, some days were 8 a.m. to first workout's 8 a.m. and last workout ends at 8. Or started at 8.
And that's crazy to think about, like a 12-hour day.
No breaks. On
top of the fact that you said there would be like 12 to 14 kids in the workout.
Yeah, it was. We used to go to Alex's house whenever we were scheduling kids because how we worked it was you could basically fill out like a Google form that told you like when they were available and what days they couldn't do, and then we built it around like the age group so that way we didn't want like a 3rd grader and an 8th grader necessarily training together. We wanted guys to push each other, girls to push each other. So we tried to build it around like similar age groups, and so we'd sit at his house and just like you would just try to build this schedule out, and some groups would be. Try to keep it around 12 at the max. Like some groups would be 12, some would be 8, it just kind of depended. You just made it work, but some of those days were long. The majority of the workouts are 12 kids and you're 8 a.m. through 8 p.m., no breaks. You're eating your lunch while they're, playing pickup at the very end, like just jumping around. You'd start at Emmanuel Lutheran, then go to the Arc, then go to Fort Small West, and then back. Like you just kind of running around. It was nuts.
Just grinding.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Grinding.
It's the best.
It's awesome.
It's I don't know who said it, but they were like, I feel like people now run from the grind, like the grind a little bit. Like they're just kind of afraid. It's fun. Like you look back on it, like I did all of that. Like my junior and senior year, I was living in Columbia. I was coaching AAU in St. Louis. So Alex Moore and I who was my assistant, he was playing at Columbia College. At the time, we would drive from Columbia to St. Louis, pick up kids from the city after school in Vashon, then drive to DeSmet to practice, then drop all those kids back off at home in the city, and then drive all the way back to Columbia. It's like, you look at it, you're like, that was like 5 hours in the car, like twice a week. It's nuts. Looking back, like the stuff you did just to get a shot. I mean, I had a shot. I had a chance to have my own, team, be the head coach of a team, and I wasn't going to give that up. You just make it work.
And I think that's like the opportunities you have now. It's God, whatever you want to call it, like the energy that you put into something, spending 5 hours in the car for an AAU practice. Like, I guess people call it like karma and stuff. Like the energy you put towards it just kind of like, it gives you opportunities down the road.
Like, I mean, if you just take that, for example, like there's a good chance I don't do that. Alex and I don't drive, to come back and run these practices, and like I don't get a job down the line because of that. It's all intertwined, like it's all related. If you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to get anything out of it. You get what you put into it. I try to tell like our guys last year at Kirkwood that all the time. Like you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So if you put in energy and effort and you focus, like good things are going to come. But if you come with bad energy, you're not working, you have no focus, like you don't want to, then we're not going to get anything good out of this.
The way I look at it too is like you have your situation, your circumstances, logistics, connections, network. You have your situation. And then if you want to level up or get more or whatever your goal is, like you have to give everything you have to what you have in order 100%. To like be blessed to get more.
100%. I mean, you're never going to get something like good things just don't happen out of nowhere. Like they happen because you put yourself in the right place. You know, and it's the hardest part is like when you're working, you have no clue what it's for. Like you have an idea of what you want it to be for, but you know, you have no clue that all this stuff is necessarily going to work out. That's, I guess, the risk of, you know, putting in all this work. But, you know, some of my best memories, like coaching, are just through some of those wild times where you're driving all over the place and, you know, you're doing it for no money. You know, you're losing money doing it. But I have some great memories and, you know, some of the kids that I coached in those AAU tournaments, like I still keep in contact with. And, you know, some of the kids that we trained when they were little are now like, you know, in college, hooping, doing what they love. So that's kind of the fun part to see the end results down the road.
So you're in Columbia, Pure Sweat, and Gateway for a couple years. Mm-hmm. And then DeSmet.
Yeah, so then I was right after I ended up having to go one extra year of college after transferring, lost some credits.
What'd you major in?
I started off business administration, switched for one semester to sports management, and then when I transferred to Mizzou, went back to business administration. So I got my degree, my undergrad in business administration. But I had to finish some classes. I got the opportunity through working with Gateway. Kent needed a JV coach. So I went in, talked to him about it. He offered me the job. I guess, a good opportunity for me. I can finish my degree online, you know, live at home, save a little money. Like I can work for Zell in the fall and make, you know, money doing that. Like let's go ahead and do it. So worked at DeSmet for a year, or coached basketball. I didn't work at the school or anything. Fun year. We had a really good year. I think the year before I got there, and we didn't have a good year because I was there. It was all Kent and the kids, but they won like 9 games, and we had a really good turnaround. I think we won 21 games, something like that. Lost in the district finals to CBC and Caleb Love, and it was a fun year. Great kids. Love Kent. He became a good friend and somebody I still talk to quite a bit.
Shout out to Kent.
Great
sure,
dude.
Man.
Great dude. Some of the stuff he was doing, like he was another one, just kind of showed me a different perspective on how to run a program and what to do, and you know, because a player you don't really know all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and how a program gets ran, and getting to watch him run a program and kind of lay a foundation at DeSmet was awesome to be a part of.
Something that stuck with me to this day is his ability to objectively look at a situation and like compartmentalize it for what it is. Mm-hmm. 'Cause as a coach, if you're getting swept up in a loss and you're all emotional about it in the locker room afterwards or in the coaches meeting afterwards, as the leader of the team, everyone kind of feeds off of it. Mm-hmm. And what he's able to do is break it down, whether that's like analytically, mm-hmm. like, okay, well, yeah, we lost by 15 and it sucks, but we missed 12 threes in a row. The last time that happened was 2 years ago, you know, just stuff like that. being able to like objectively look at it was by far like the most impactful thing he helped me with.
Yeah, he was a great. Besides being a great guy, like he just really good at seeing things for what they are. Like, all right, we lost, but we didn't shoot it well. We didn't do this and this, but it's time to flip the switch. Let's move on to the next day. Get ready to go. I thought he did a really good job, especially like post game, like kind of not letting the players, I guess, see the frustration if we lost, or even if we won, didn't play very good, not letting them kind of see that frustration. I still remember we're in a game and we couldn't make anything. Like, we could not make anything. And I like dropped my head. And he saw it and it's like, says to me, like, you can't let, the guys see that you're frustrated. Because as soon as you show that you're frustrated, like, they're going to stop believing that we can fix it. That would always stick with me. Ironically enough, it was in CBC's gym where we just couldn't do it. We couldn't get things figured out. And that one has stuck with me, to this day.
Also, on the court, like, the man's X's and O's are phenomenal.
So good at
out of this world. Up. The first meeting we had, very first time meeting him in person, went to the school, talked about things, talked about steps moving forward. He pulls out his Sharpie marker, draws the little half court, is drawing up plays, and it just went way over my head. And it's super cool though, because then by the time I left, I'm like, okay, I see what we're doing.
Yeah.
You set the down screen. If he tries to split it, we flip it, make it a flare screen. Like, I can piece the things together, but that man's X's and O's are crazy.
He was fun. He's one of those guys that's just fun to just sit in the room with, and you just start drawing stuff up and diagram and stuff. I've been lucky enough to work for some great people. He's one of them that when we played him, I knew, like, hey, we're not gonna be able to stop everything that they do, but because he's gonna have something out of a timeout that's gonna be really good action that we're not ready for. He's a heck of a coach.
So you're there for 1 year, and then you go off to Drury.
Mm-hmm.
That was Coach Hesser.
Yep, Steve Hesser.
And then in an interview, you were talking about how you learned a ton of stuff from him. Was that on the court, off the court, both? What was it?
Both. He's probably like he had a crazy ability to just sit back. He would always sit in a chair and just kind of cross his legs, just watch what happened, plays over, and he would just recreate the whole thing. Like, it was unreal. Like, I'd never seen somebody, because like I would always say I'm coaching and I see something, I'm like, wait, time out, let's run that back, and like, I think this is where this guy was. I think this, like, can we recreate it? He knew how to do it just like that. I mean, it was nuts. One of the smartest basketball guys I've ever been. Probably, like, honestly, the smartest basketball mind I've ever been around. Just, I mean, the stuff that he could do, like, and we didn't even run like crazy sets or anything like that. Like, but he just had a knack for teaching the game, like teaching guys what to do, where to go, what to do in the middle of a game. Like, we're struggling offensively. Okay, let's change one thing that we're doing, and then it'll work. Like, he's a basketball genius. It's nuts.
It's cool to, as you like go along your experience, starting to like stack the knowledge. Alex, Drew, Kent, Coach Hesser, and it all just kind of then becomes your own philosophy.
Oh yeah. If you can take little bits and pieces from a little bit of everybody and then, kind of morph it into your own. I think that's one of the hardest parts. Like one thing I struggled with this past year, being a first year like head coach of a whole program. Finding that like what's you, because you have this idea like I want to do things this way, but it's not necessarily yours, and kind of being unique and being genuine to like who you are. It was hard. You're trying to figure out like just be you, but
in terms of like X's and O's or like how you communicate?
A little bit of both. Like, X's and O's, like what's the way I want to play, and then just how you want to run a practice, some of the terms that you use, because everybody's got different terminology for different, actions. What are we going to use? Like, what are we going to, so it's just kind of, you have to figure out like what works for you. I would say I'm still trying to figure some of that stuff out,
Grad assistant / assistant at Drury. Take us through like an average day in the life of a Division II assistant coach.
You wear a lot of different hats. You do a lot of different stuff. I was a guy, especially, I wanted to be in the office. Like I wanted to be there. So if a coach ever needed anything, like he could rely that I was going to be there. So I was a guy that tried to get in early. Usually 7:30, 8 a.m. I tried to be in the office at my desk, doing something, just in case he needed something. When I first got there, I went back and I watched every offensive clip of Drury's over like the last 10 years. Like I just went because I wanted to know like what it's supposed to look like, the way he played, what he wanted to do. So I went through Synergy and I watched every offensive clip for the last like 10 years. It took me all fall. Like it took me a long time, but I had to see it so that way I could help coach it. But then every day could be different. Some days you're doing inventory, in the storage closet, making sure, we got all the practice gear, gear for our guys, coaches gear, whatever it is. One day I might have to go to Sam's Club to go pick up, all the waters and Gatorades for the locker room, the protein bars for the bus, like get all that stuff. Then in the fall, we'd have usually workouts, individual, like group workouts, usually like 4 guys. It was all position based. We'd have like 20-minute workouts throughout the day. So you just kind of sit there, look at everybody's class schedule. Okay, we want these 4 in a group together. This is when they can go. We want these 3 together. They're going to go here. Like we kind of want these 8 guys to go together. We'll overlap it a little bit. So like the last 10 minutes of these guys' workout's going to be with these 4, So we did individuals, and then we'd usually have like a couple days a week, like team stuff for like an hour, hour and a half or so. Our guys lifted 3 days a week in the morning. I had to be there for all that. Most of the time, no other assistants would go except the GA. Like he would be there, make sure everybody was on time. Coach would always call, like, what, how were they? What were they? What was his thing? What was their mood? Like, good mood. And then you just have different. You might have a meeting with the coaching staff that day. Everybody does it a little different. But that's kind of the fun part about being a D2 assistant. You do so many different things. Like, one day I could be cleaning the locker room, but I also could be coaching. Like you just wear so many different hats, and like you do a lot of different stuff. Coach Hesser's Wi-Fi went out one time and he called me. He's like, I need you to come help me with my Wi-Fi. It's like 9:00 at night. Like, all right. Drive over there, try to help him with his Wi-Fi. But, there was fun experiences, kind of like I said, learning so much about the game and how to run a successful program and how to do things. And he's somebody I still keep in contact with quite a bit. He actually just took a high school head coaching job down in Gulfport, Mississippi, I think. So I'm excited to follow his high school journey a little bit and see him in action again.
Let's talk about college basketball skill work, player development.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I've had conversations with a couple guys I work out recently, and you're the perfect person to ask about this. So, generally speaking, if you're a college basketball player and you're going to your individual, your skill session, whatever you want to call it, more often than not, you're not going to be cross jab, shot hezzy, same foot, same hand into a veer finish. Yeah. Generally speaking, it's going to be jump stop, rip, one dribble pull, jump stop, shot fake, jab, one dribble pull up left. One, do you agree with that? And two, if you do, why do you think that is?
So with Hesser, like really with everybody, like specifically with Hesser, all the workouts were based out of our concepts. So it was like, say for example, I'm working with bigs, I'm working with our forwards. He was a big motion guy where they screened a lot. So it was like, all right, you're going to start on the wing. You're going to go down screen for somebody in the corner. Then you're going to flip it and set a flare, dive. I'm going to hit you on the dive, shot fake, different stuff like that. Or if you're a guard, like, all right, you're coming off this screen, catch, rip, one dribble, pull up, get all the way to the rim, different stuff. It was less like there was really no like, I'm just going to go get my bag a little bit. Like, I think there's a balance of both. Like, there's a fine line, and this is my struggle, like having been a, player development, workout guy and being a, coach. It's like you want to find ways to help your players get better and expand their skill set. So doing some of that stuff, like the workout, guy,
the fancy stuff.
The fancy stuff that looks cool on Instagram's good for, I think, like small segments. But the vast majority of your workout should be, in my opinion, like concept based, like what you're going to see 95% of the time in a game. Like how many opportunities are you going to get isolated on the wing to go, hezzy crossover, jab, pull back. You just don't get that opportunity. Like, especially in college, shot clock, you're just rarely going to get isolation opportunities, but you're going to see a ball screen. You're going to see a pin down. You're going to see you're going to get all that stuff, in games more than you're going to get the isolation stuff. So I think there's a mixture of both, but the vast majority of your workout, I think, should be like the basic stuff, like how to come off the ball screen, how to, fundamentally get in the middle of the lane, play off two. What are your options out of that? I think one thing is the hardest thing, and if I would, go back to be kind of like a workout guy, I would do more like situational stuff with like defense and, hey, this is the read. Like I didn't work on passing enough when I was like a workout guy. We didn't, it was all like you scoring it. But I think teaching guys to see that pass and talking through the reads like are great. One thing we did a lot my last year at Drury with Coach Foster, like we would work on, say I had like a group that was doing the other team scout, we would work on whatever action they're doing, and we would like talk through the reads, like, all right, this is, you come off this ball screen, you're reading that guy, what's he doing, where's he at, is he dropped, is he up, where's that guy at? If he's dropped, you're trying to turn the corner and get by them. Then you're going to find help. Now I spray it wherever that help's coming, just kind of talking through the reads. And I think some of the workouts, we didn't do enough of that. I think that's one area that we fell short in.
As a coach that has a skill training background, do you ever kind of flip hats sometimes? Like in practice, maybe you're doing a shell drill, and then you see an opportunity to, they call it different things, but like Dwayne Wade does it a lot, the little pound and then over the top 1, 2. Do you ever find yourself wearing the coach's hat and then seeing, let me coach you on this move that you could do?
100%. You'll just, for example, you're in shell, you see a guy, he attacks and he makes a move and it doesn't work out. It's like, hey, if you would have done this, that maybe that would have been a better finish. That would have been a better solution. Guys on your back, why did you, that's a time to play off 1 because you got to get it up quick. Going off 2 there, it's going to be a little slower. You always kind of flip back and forth. I always find myself doing that. The focus is shell, defense. And then I find myself coaching the offense more. So I would try to have assistants be all right, hey, we're focusing on shell. You coach the offense. I'm going to try. I emphasize try because I would always, find myself talking about our offense then. And then it's well, actually we're playing a defense, it's no, our offense just looks like crap,
Yeah.
So you kind of always go back and forth.
The first time I saw that was with Darian, actually, when I was playing for him, middle school. We were doing a drill and then he told someone just Euro and that was so innovative to me, just combining those two worlds. And that's something I've definitely carried with me.
Yeah. It's, that's what I love about basketball. There's just so much going on. You have that ability to kind of flip back and forth. It's I'm coaching you on this, but I'm also gonna, if I see something, I'm gonna say it. It's the famous advice by Hesser. It's just Sam, do you want to coach? Yeah, all right, then coach. Don't just sit there. If you got something to say, you need to coach these guys. You need to say it. So simple. It's duh. But that stuck with me forever.
The first year at Drury, was it kind of oh shit, imposter syndrome kind of?
100%. To this day, it still is you don't really know do I belong here? Am I the right guy for the job? It's I don't know. But it was at that first year at Drury, big time. Something I wanted to do for a long time was be a college coach, and I got there and it was different than I imagined it. But it was awesome. It was awesome. It was a great experience. Got to meet so many just amazing people, and you really find out sometimes if you love it when you're coaching at D2. You're on a bus trip going to
Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, you're driving through the night. It's we don't get in until 3 a.m. It's not high major where we hop on the private jet and we're back in Springfield in 30 minutes. It's a 8-hour drive. Post game you're eating pizza. It's just kind of you find out if you really want to do it.
Was there ever points in your career where you went back and forth what you wanted to do, skills training versus coaching?
A little bit. I always thought I want to give. I was lucky enough to be able to do both at the same time. I was coaching Gateway, but I was still doing skills training. I was coaching at DeSmet. I was still doing skills. So I was able to kind of have a little bit of both. And then, so it was do I want to keep doing this? Do I just want to do the skills stuff? I enjoy having a group, my own team. I enjoy that. I liked it. Coach Esser always talked about the ability like of a coach is, or the job of a coach is to get a group of guys to go somewhere they wouldn't get on their own. Maximize their ability. And I like that thought and concept, to get a group of guys to figure it out, make it all work, and get them somewhere that they wouldn't go without my help. They're doing it. I'm just here to kind of help guide them, So I think coaching's something I've always wanted to do, but I have kind of done that little flip back. It's like, early in my career, like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? But again, I was lucky enough where I was able to kind of do both of those things at the same time.
That is super lucky.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to people who, I was one of them at one point. Like, you go back and forth because both are kind of like seasonal. Mm-hmm. Skills training is generally in the summer.
Yeah.
Team is school year. And so it's like, okay, well, during the school year, damn, I love coaching, bro. I think this is the thing. And then summer hits, damn, bro, I love training. I think this is the thing. And you go back and forth. So that's lucky that you were able to do both at the same time.
No, it's there's kind of, it's always like sometimes you're like, oh, I love this in the moment. It's like, is this what I really want to do for the long haul? And I was, like I said, I was just lucky enough to kind of be able to do a little bit of both. Like coach a team 5 to 7:30 practice, and then I'm running a workout at 8, so just kind of lucky enough to balance it and get both viewpoints.
So you spend 3 years at Drury.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy your time there, learn a lot. Kirkwood job is vacant.
Mm-hmm.
You put your name in the hat. They say you're the guy.
Mm-hmm.
What is going through your mind?
I was pumped. I wanted it was a chance to get back to St. Louis. Be around friends and family. The chance to be a head coach and run your own program was like what I was looking for. I was very excited. I was nervous. I was like, am I really, I'm going to find out if I'm cut out for this, or if I'm, if I'm not. But this past year was just like an awesome experience. I've learned a lot about myself just as a person, trying to figure some of this out. And, I think there's always, I'm a guy that is confident that I could, I'm good at what I do, but I have doubts. And this year I would say there's really showed that, because you're, if things are going well, you're like, oh, I got this. But at the same time, you're thinking like, it's not exactly running the way we need it to be running. How can I, fix that, make it work. And so just always reevaluating, where we're at. And, I was lucky enough that they took a chance on me, and fortunate enough that we had a good year.
That was something I wanted to ask you about, because JV at DeSmet and then Kirkwood, your record as a head coach is pretty good. And so that's what I was curious about, is if like you're sitting there winning all these games and thinking like almost like a false sense of security, because it's like, there's no way I got it like that. And obviously the players and stuff put the work in, but it's like, as a coach, there's no way I can just get it off. Like, am I missing something? Is that something?
Yeah, it's, I've been fortunate enough to coach just a lot of, like, at the end of the day, I always tell people, like, I don't run from the fact that, like, my success, like, I wouldn't be successful if I didn't have talented players. Like, I couldn't take, guys that don't have good enough talent or, good enough work ethic and make them just like these studs. Like, nobody can. Without talented players, like, none of this works. And I try to always remind myself that, and, it's like, none of this all works without talented players. Like, they're the ones doing it. I'm just here to help kind of guide them. along the way, and help put them in maybe positions that they need to be successful. I mean, that's my job, and that's luckily what I've had some success doing. There's going to be years where I have a terrible team, like, because I do a bad job, and but that's what I love about coaching is like, there's always something that you could be doing better. There's always a more efficient way to play. There's always, a better option to get something done. And that's one of the reasons I love coaching.
So your time at Kirkwood, you were doing the weight stuff also, weren't you?
So during the school day, I was a permanent sub, or we had these guys, they're walking counselors. I was doing kind of one of those two things every day. And now I'll be a PE teacher full time. So it's like, something that be a new challenge, but I'm excited for.
With the team, were you running the weight room workouts?
Yeah. So with our guys, like in the fall, we did, I had our guys lifting 4 days a week. We would go in 3 to 340, and get a lift in. And then Missouri this year, I think last year was the second year they did it. You could have 3 hours with a basketball with a coach. So we would do like 3 days a week, an hour, or some weeks we'd do, 2 days a week, hour and a half long workouts with guys that weren't playing a fall sport. But the weight room was something I believe in, and I think it really helps. And so we lifted in the fall 4 times a week. We tried to lift two times a week during the season. In the spring, we lifted 4 days a week. So that's something that I'm going to continue to do because I think it really helped us.
So for you to like write the workouts down and run it, is that you taking the knowledge, observing lifts at Drury as a player lifting? Is that you taking that knowledge and then passing it on?
Yeah, it's I'm kind of like that's not my like expertise per se. So that's where just doing a bunch of research, like I was fortunate enough being in the weight room at Drury, watching our strength coach. We didn't even have he's our trainer, but he was a certified strength coach, and so seeing what he was doing and kind of modeling some of the stuff that we do after that. Just researching different strength coaches and at the collegiate level, like what they're doing and how they set stuff up, and it's all like trial and error too. It's trying to figure out what works best for our guys, and I'm excited this year to get going with a new group and see like, okay, how can we get this group bigger, faster, stronger, and maximize the time that we'll have together.
So Kirkwood, we got 20 straight wins, MICDS tournament champions, Circle 7 tournament champions. Talk about your year with the Pioneers.
It was a fun year. It was a fun group to coach. Some really great kids. I mean, we were an older team. We had 8 seniors. They were a fun group. They worked really hard. It was a few days where I feel like they didn't come ready to work. We had a lot of talent, which made me look smart. It was all them. They did a great job. It was a fun group to coach because we could play fast. Like, we weren't very big, so we pressed a lot, and we opened the floor up, let them kind of be themselves, and use their talents kind of in space, and but it was a fun group, man. They were some great kids.
At the Circle 7 tournament, you had your little sheet of paper in your waist. Was that a Kent Williams influence with all the plays?
That it was. He has his little play call sheet or whatever, and then Chris Foster, who I worked for the last year at Drury, he had that too. Like he had just a little sheet with plays on it, and so that's kind of something I've taken where I have my play bank, and then every game will highlight a couple of sets that I think these will work against this group. Like, hey, if we can get to an empty side ball screen, I think that action will be really successful against the team we're playing. So, these 3 sets have an empty side ball screen in it. Like, let's make sure we call those. But definitely a Kent Williams and Chris Foster influence on that for sure.
What's your balance between running a play and motion, just playing?
I think a lot of it's, I've kind of talked about this, like every team's different, and you're going to figure out, like, I think you got to figure out what you're going to do with each individual team. Like what I do with Kirkwood this past year isn't necessarily what I'm going to 100% do at CBC this year. Like they're 2 different teams, different personnel, and I think plays versus motions kind of the same way. Like one team, we might not have to run a play really at all. But then one team, we might need to call quite a bit, So it's just kind of a little bit of give and take, see what the abilities are of each group. I would say majority of the time I would run more motion, kind of let them play than try to, for back a little term, like move the chess pieces. I kind of give them the responsibility and the freedom to go play. I think we do a lot of coaching in practice, so that way they know what the expectation is when they play, in the game. So I think, I try to give them the freedom to go do those things. But there are some times where you need to call a set every, there was a couple games this year where it's like, hey, slow it down. We're going to call set the next 5 possessions because we need to help them get into some action. They're not getting into action quick enough. Like, so let's call a set to help get some movement, help them, get started with the possession and then kind of go from there.
I think that's definitely kind of the direction basketball is going, more like free flow. There's a time and a place for everything. So I'm glad you brought that up. And I think that's like, as a coach, I think that's where your like superpower is you're kind of this like middle child, if that's the term we want to use. Yeah. Like you got mentored and had head coaches like Hall of Fame level, Kent, Coach Hesser, everybody. And you're able to take all that. Earlier we talked about like stack and stuff, and that's how you form your philosophy. You're able to take all that knowledge and then present it and communicate it in a way that is like relatable.
I mean, that's I appreciate that. It's like the goal, it's like you always have that, like, I always try to remember like what it was, like what we're doing from the mindset of a player perspective as well. Like, there's some days, unfortunately, that, especially for high schoolers, they're just not going to have it that day. Like they just don't have it. They just sat in class for 8 hours. Like, it's the middle of January. You've been at this for a long time. Like they're just not going to have it. And you have to figure out a way. It's like, am I going to just beat a dead horse all practice? Or am I going to have to, maneuver and figure out a way that we can get something out of this practice? So whether it's like, what, we're done doing shell or any of this, we just can't figure it. We're just going to get a ton of shots up today. We're going to do this. Like just trying to kind of figure that all that out. It might even be one of like Chris Foster. You know what? We're going to play wiffle ball today. Like they just need a break. Like their minds are just not where they need to be. Let's just play wiffle ball and get back at it tomorrow. So I've always tried to kind of keep that in the back of my head. where their head's at, trying to talk to the guys too, like, how are we feeling today? How's your body feeling? How, you tired? Do you guys need a break? Where are we at? Like, just kind of always trying to have that those conversations with the guys is huge.
I found that kind of tough, like asking them.
Oh yeah,
I'm good. I'm cool.
Well, it's like, it's human nature, I get, or it might be, I don't know, to like not want somebody to see that you're struggling, So a lot of times you ask the guys, like, how you feeling? I'm good. But then they're limping around and it's like all stiff. It's like, you're not good. Like, come on, bro. Just be honest with me. And I'm not going to, just because you say I'm a little tired doesn't mean we're not going to practice. But it might mean we just kind of alter some of the stuff that we're doing. Maybe give them a couple more breaks, a couple more drink. Just kind of, you figure it out. And I think that a lot goes back to kind of just some of the relationships that you have with the guys and some of the trust that you have between each other, that if you say you're good, that means you're good. If you say, I'm not feeling great, I know where that is, and, trust that I have your best interests in mind, and I'm not going to go out there and kill your bodies. Like, I'm going to do what I can to help you out.
I think that's essential. And we were talking earlier about like workload management and stuff. Super important. I see 14-year-olds getting ready for a game and rubbing BioFreeze on their knees. Yeah. So to play wiffle ball every now and then, I think does wonders.
Yeah, it was early in the year. We had like a stretch where we didn't play for a long time. Like we didn't have a game on the schedule for a while, and so it's like, how we feeling, guys? Like, I'm just tired. So then, you know what? We're just gonna play some wiffle ball today. Like what are we gonna get out of this? Like, they're so tired. Like, we're not gonna get anything out of it. And, we'll play wiffle ball. They'll get a day off the next day, and we'll come back and we'll be ready to go. And I think that's something that I'll always keep in the back pocket a little bit, just in case we need it.
Players will listen to this. Oh, bad, bro. Let's play wiffle.
Yeah, let's play wiffle ball. Let's not practice.
Season's over at Kirkwood. Successful year. Lots of wins. Learned a lot. Built relationships. Players, staff, coaches. Built a family. Probably 1 year under your belt, kind of feeling comfortable with the setting, with your circumstances. CBC job opens up. It's vacant. Put your name in the hat, you get the job. What is going through your mind?
It's a tough, transition, tough decision, but, I kind of, talked about it earlier. Like, it was at Kirkwood, I was, working as a substitute, and unfortunately, like, in high school basketball, like, your income comes from, your full-time day job, right? So you always kind of have to factor that into decisions that you make. A chance to be a teacher full-time and, kind of do some of that was exciting. And it was tough to leave the kids at Kirkwood. There's a bunch of great kids there, great, coworkers there. It's just, there's some amazing people there. So it was, not great timing, and but nothing really ever is great. It's just kind of got to roll with it a little bit. And I wish everybody at Kirkwood the absolute best, and there's some great kids. They're going to do amazing things there and in their future, and I can't wait to kind of follow along. But for me, it was just the right move for me, and what I want to kind of accomplish and what I want to do for my future. And so it's just kind of one that had to make a tough decision, and now we're here.
This theme of like a time and a place for everything. We're 3 episodes deep. This is the 3rd episode that's been brought up. Time and a place to look out for other people. There's a time and a place to look out for ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's honestly something like I admired a lot about the decision. Was like, I mean, it's obvious. It's the next step to wherever you want to go, which we'll touch on in a minute, but it's just super important. What are you excited about the most?
I think, the chance to form new relationships, with some great kids. I've gotten to meet, some of the kids in the program that have been there in the past, and, meet some of the people that I'll be working with through, meetings and different stuff at CBC. I'm looking forward to just kind of forming those relationships and, and kind of creating my own path in CBC's basketball tradition. I'm going to try my best to be me and, not kind of be somebody I'm not, and not try to be Justin Tatum, because I'll never be Justin Tatum. I can only be me, but, follow his kind of footsteps and having a great tradition continued, hopefully.
I was very excited to hear about Darian coming on the staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That to me, just like perfect fit, perfect story, just everything's perfect. It was probably a no-brainer. What went into that decision?
He's a guy that, like I said, I've known for a long time. I met him when I was 14 or 15. He coached me. I coached under him as an assistant for a year, and so just known him a long time and know the value that he brings to the staff, and his knowledge and his demeanor and just everything he brings is going to be beneficial for me and our kids as well. He's somebody that made a huge impact on my life and still does. And so the opportunity to work with him was, like I said, kind of a no-brainer if he wanted to do it. And I'm lucky enough that he said he's in.
Reading different articles and stuff about you coming to CBC, mm-hmm. They were talking about how there was like meetings or something of like different alumni that like together made the decision and like thought that knew that you were the right fit for it. Mm-hmm. That's got to feel good.
Yeah. It's it was a process with 8 to 10 guys, for the interview, and a lot of them being alums, and having their support is encouraging, and I'm excited, and it's one of those things. It's like you want to meet as many alums as you can to get them excited about the program and the direction that we'll head, and but having their support is huge, and it means a lot.
So last question I got for you. Yeah. Long term in the future, do we have an end goal? Are we taking this day by day, seeing where it takes us? What's the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm try to be a guy that just one day at a time type of guy, because you just never know what life's going to throw at you. Like if you would have told me 5 years ago, this is where I would be right now, I would have thought you were crazy. If you tell me in 5 years I'll be at CBC and, we'll have won a lot of games or not won any game, I'll tell you you're crazy. Like I'm a guy that I don't really know, but I feel like I'm at a place in CBC where I could be for a while. It's a place that everybody that's gone there or worked there just loves it, and I'm excited for to see the reasons why they all love it. So I guess an end goal, I'm where I want to be, and I'm not a guy that tries to look too crazy far into the future or anything like that, because you never know what every day is going to bring.
That's facts. Yeah. Going into season 2 of high school head coaching, Bet you're excited.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very excited. It, getting to meet some of the guys over the summer was great, and work with them a few days, and I'm looking forward to school starting so I could, be around them, and we can start getting to work here after Labor Day.
Which is very soon.
Yeah, it's coming up, thankfully.
Very soon.
Thankfully.
Yeah. Sam, I appreciate you coming on here.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me, man.
Episode number 3 in the books.